Hey, yo, slow down for a second. Slow down. Hey, yo, Shaw, Brazil, hop out real quick. We're gonna get these niggas real quick. What they talking about? Just about a month ago, I was in a weird place, talking like they bout it. Come around, niggas scared straight. I've been locked in, no distractions for a year straight. This shit heavy duty, keep it coolie, pump your air brakes. One West, I don't hear the rhetoric. One West versus these cats, we ain't sweating shit. Pop it on the internet, you see them, they ain't saying shit. Nigga, who's you playing with? Stepping out the murder van, nothing they seen before. One hand wash the other hand, battle scars I needed those. Living by the law, dog can keep the cool. I've been organizing, strategizing, they ain't peeping though. This is not a drill, this is not a rental. What I look like, earn my stripes, man, I'm too official. They gon' say they knew me, but they don't know the new me. Glorious, notorious, Biggie with the cool. I wrote this on the loose sleeve, kicking shit like Bruce Lee. Never slipping blade under my pillow like it's loose teeth. This is how a soldier look, doing what I'm supposed to do. If you rockin', then I'm rockin', nigga, that's how soldiers move. Right.
UPK shoot side.
Soldier move, nigga. Soldier moves, nigga. Shaw. Okay. Man, I hate when the pussy niggas speak to me, cause only one I talk to is beneath the sheets. I'm rude in speech, cavity in my fist might lose your teeth. Who is you to me? Now you can't even damn chew or eat, just fucking drink. But I take that way if you don't even think I'm off the leash. I'm humble but will still unleash. Talk big but shrink when you're around a damn righteous priest. I'm so unique, and all my women thick, petite, I'm gone. I be on my level. Haters want my shine. Nigga, I ain't shit. I think they know I'm lying. But really, I ain't shit. I ain't enough crackers. I need a whole buffet, cause I ain't going backwards.
It's such a fool's game to think that you have to seek power. You have to seek the Most High, and you'll have all the power. I got more power, brother, than you could imagine, and I've sought none of it. Like, I got power.
All my soldiers.
I ain't sought none of it. I just want to work hard in this truth. I want to be the best soldier I could be.
All my soldiers take over. All my soldiers take over. Yeah. Yo, come on. Yo, Kashak, pull off. Yeah. And don't go backwards. Let's go.
Hey, y'all already know how South Coast doing this shit. South Coast, you know what I mean? We holding it down, brotherhood, South Coast skin, however you want to talk about it, however you want to do it. One thing for sure, we ain't going backwards.
You already know what it is.
I mean, you ain't gotta pay no price to buy no corners. Since when do we buy corners? We take corners. Man, you won't buy one way or another. Whether it's the bodies we don't lost, or you're gonna lose. Time in the joint is behind us or ahead of us. I mean, you gonna get some shit in this game, but ain't shit for free. I mean, how many corners do they need? How much money can a nigga make? More than a nigga can spend. And then we ain't gonna be around to spend what we done made already. Shit, I think I can be around this long. Yeah. Well, we here.
Yeah. I know a nigga murked his own man cause he was fucking on his bitch. He got booked, now she's sick. She out here sucking all these. Told my young boy to chill cause he was hitting all these licks. Now he resisting, now we 6 feet. He was thinking with his dick. Better hearken, youngin' man. I'm dropping gems, they call me old school. Gon' fed on the gram and who you shot and who you gon' shoot. 600-page indictment, nigga, what you gon' do? Up top with them lifers, you don't fight, all you do is shoot. I know them crackers mad as hell because they wanna see us dead. Plotting all the minds holding counsel just to stay ahead. This one was just forever. We gon' paint them nations red. If you not under this banner, then you all just mad. Man, I'm from the trenches. They ain't know it show us love. All we know is extensions in the way to throw a slug. We done made a move on you and we don't care who it was. On the gram, I saw my youngest send a nigga up above. You would've thought me and the squad was fatigue, how we run shit. Better yet, that's all block. Better yet, that's all strip. My general said if it's not one West, then it's not legit. Fuck every cracker, go to their grave and go and take a piss. Mama, I'm the Israel, I'm pulling strings like Santana. Gotta keep the blitz because in that mix it get bananas. I adapted to it. Right before the skis and went bandanas. I'm the big bad wolf, come down your chimney like I'm Santa. Pussy niggas said that they was going slop, but they ain't do shit. Got a couple hammers in the ride, don't make me bang shit. Got a couple crackers on my mind, I'm trying to hang shit. Yeah, I'm in the field, I'm still pissed about the slave ships. Then y'all got some big shit to make a rain flip. This pump turn you to an acrobat with these backflips. Mom said 12s ask you questions, but not say shit. Mom said don't neighbors ask you questions, but not say shit. I'm true to this, ask your old head. I ain't new to this, I'm too legit. If one West world and we running this, I'm gunning it. Advise every cracker to be intelligent, irrelevant. For all them fake cans that we ain't marching with. This clip that I got like holy water, I'm trying to throw it on you. You pledge your allegiance to them snakes, they turn for you on you. Pillhead / crash dumps, I keep it real with you. You told me you don't trust none of them niggas, and that's a real issue. I don't give a fuck, you wantin' beef for what you all did. Just before they signed the same words that Paul said. Clip full of racist motherfuckers, it got bald heads. This shit that I got dumping in your ears like some skull heads. Why you trying to claim the same right that your man's did? Y'all was sign lacking, main reasons why your guys dead. Always gotta keep one in the head before I go to bed. Fuck a DJ Khaled, this one West, this what God did, nigga.
One West world. Nah, we coming, nigga. Not tripping. Tighten the fuck up, you heard?
Hey, Shalom, Israel. Through the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. This is the Monday night scripture breakdown class where we do what your Christian pastors cannot do and will not do. Which is teach Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans their culture, the truth according to the Bible. We've been teaching our people the truth according to the Bible since 1969. Going into these scriptures, just reading it. That's really all it takes. Well, I can say that, but your Christian pastors are ill-equipped to, teach Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans their culture, because if they were to just read what was in these scriptures, then it would dismantle their entire doctrine. And their whole purpose, the whole purpose of the Christian church was to deceive Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans into serving their oppressor rather than serving the Most High God, who wants to put them above all their oppressors, especially the chief oppressor. But if the Christian pastors were only to just read this Bible, read these scriptures, then it would completely dismantle Christianity. And prove that your oppressor is in fact the devil the Bible speaks of, and that Christian churches are full of liars and their doctrine is full of lies, and that the ISUPK is in fact the home of the truth. So with that being said, you got any questions? You go put them in the chat. Got any questions in the room? Go ahead, put your hand up. We'll get to them. We'll break it down. Let me see. The title of tonight's class is, forget what the title is. Matthew 18:15, the new commandment. All right. The reason why I wanted to go into this is because it's something that is easy for, for brothers and sisters to say. It's easy for brothers and sisters to say that we love one another. It's easy for us to say that, oh, I love, I love black people. I love my black skin. Black. You see it all in the streets, in the, in the world. Everybody pro-black, Black Lives Matter, buy black, all of that. we're gonna get the scripture here in a second, but you know what I mean, you see all everybody love black people. You know what I mean? From your politicians to your police to you know what I mean, your press and everybody love black people. It's easy to say that you love black, and that's because in today's society, that's something that you don't have to prove because you don't have to. Nobody, you don't in American society or in the world rather. You don't have to. Nobody has to show any black, Hispanic, or Native American any love. No one's required to show any black, Hispanic, or Native American love. So you're required to show your oppressor love. You're required to go to that job and smile in their face, even though that you know what I mean, even though that your oppressor is the reason why you gotta work at McDonald's in the first place because you can't get a job anywhere else. The reason why you gotta beg your oppressor for a scholarship to go to some college, you know what I mean? It's you know your oppressor is responsible. So because they got access to all the wealth and the land and the you know what I mean property and all of those things. They got access to all the opportunity that you want as a black man or Hispanic or Native American, even though that you know that they're responsible for you being, you know what I mean, mass incarcerated, your family living in the ghettos and in the barrios and in the reservations. You know what I mean, because you're trying to get out of that situation and you know that they hold all the keys because they stole everything from you. You have to smile in your oppressor's face and show them love. And you got to pretend that they've done nothing to you. You know what I mean? That's why you gotta sleep with them. You know what I mean? Even though at one point in time they were forcing themselves on you. They was forcing themselves on black, Hispanic, and Native American men and women. They were forcing LGBTQ activities on our brothers and on our sisters. And now we willingly have to do those things because we want to appeal to them and we don't want to appear as an enemy to our oppressor. I mean, so it's easy to show love to your oppressor, but it's extremely difficult for us to show love to one another because if we stand on the side of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, then we know that that means that we're standing in direct opposition to our oppressor. So I just wanted to go into this real quick and you know what I mean just kind of just refresh brothers. I know it's you know what I mean these are bedrock scriptures that we finna go into that you know what I mean is pretty much the foundation of what we teach in the ISUPK, which is basically to love one another. You know what I mean, put blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans first. You know what I mean, mend relationships with one another and make sure we good and make sure we you know what I mean we reserve our love for one another, and any art or any discrepancy that come up between us, we could solve that. You know what I mean, those are the bedrock foundations of the ISUPK, that we stay together, we stick together, and that we repair our relationships with one another. All right. But it's easy for brothers and sisters to think that they understand these things because that's the foundation here. But it is easier said than done. Because again, you know what I mean, there's no requirement. There's nobody. If you give your brother a mean mug walking up the street, you know what I mean, there's no repercussion for that. But if you mean mug, you know what I mean, you mean mug the wrong oppressor, I mean, you could land yourself in some hell here on earth because I mean your oppressor runs everything. They run everything in your captivity. I mean, so it's important for us to apply these things. Baba Shop, if you don't mind, let me get Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 17 real quick. It's important for us to really understand the importance of these things. Because again, it's easier said than done to, you know what I mean, to love your brother. It's easy to say one West till they bury me. You know what I mean? I love my brothers and I love you know what I mean? I lose my life on my brothers and my sisters and all of that. And it's easy to say, but when that brother offends you, you know what I mean? A lot of brothers and sisters, you know what I mean? I'm sure I mean it's a lot more difficult to keep those relationships intact because we done spent so many years in the world and how we dealt with things in the world. It's a lot easier for us to, go back to our habits of what we were doing in the world. But a lot of you might have spent like a couple years in the truth, and now you're relearning how to deal with one another. So it's easy for us to offend one another. We do it all the time. We offend one another, but what's important is what you do after that. And we gonna get into it. Like,
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him.
so this is in the Old Testament. I just want to note that because we're gonna get another scripture. But this is in the Old Testament. It's it's always been in our law to love one another. Not suffer sin upon one another. Rebuke one another. If a brother has offended you, you go to that brother. If you offended a brother, go to that brother. If a brother ain't doing right and you see it, go to that brother. Go through the processes to get that brother right. If he ain't all the way right, or you might think a brother is wrong, and you go to that brother, or you go through the channels to try to get that brother right, and then you might discover that you're wrong. You know what I mean? Not all of those things are absolutely necessary so that we can be a nation. Because we can't be a nation if we constantly letting little tiny things destroy us. It's like you go ahead, read on.
Come verse 20. That's like verse 18. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord.
So what we do all the time, I know especially if you grew up in any hood, you can name any hood. You know what I mean? Whether you grew up in Florida, whether you grew up in Tennessee, whether you grew up in the East Coast, the West Coast, whether you grew up in the South and the North, wherever you grew up at, there's some hood in where you live at that's just damn near torn to the ground because of, or it is filled with offenses, to say the least. Your hood is filled with offenses. That's why, it's you got Bloods over here and Crips over here. They the same people, but they will go against each other and attack one another. Destroy one another. You got GDs and vice lords, going against one another. You got you see right now, between blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, where a black man can accept that a native or that a Hispanic or Native American is their brother. It's because of these little offenses where a brother might step on you, and it starts off real small. Which is why this is so important for us to understand. It usually starts off real small. It could start off big, but it usually starts off small, where brother might, look at you wrong, or he might bump you, or he might step on your shoe. And instead of going to that brother and dealing with it like a brother, keeping in mind that this is your brother, we take it all the way. We take it all the way to the top, off the top ropes with that brother. And now, you didn't, before you know it, you didn't put your hands on somebody's. You think this is just some Joe off the block, but this is somebody's father. This is somebody's brother, somebody's cousin. And that brother got people that care about him. So you done assaulted this brother because of this tiny offense, or you done disrespected his brother over this tiny offense, and now his people, his cousins, his brothers, his his children come after you, and then so on and so forth. And now somebody lost their life on your side, so now you got to take somebody's life on their side. And now you fast forward a couple years later, and now you got beef with this brother that y'all stay in the same apartment complex. Y'all stay across the street from one another, or whatever the case is, but y'all just got a never-ending beef because of these small offenses, man. That's why it's so important for us to love one another and actually, consider one another, and consider that if we don't fix these offenses, if we don't, hold on to our nation and consider that the relationship that we have with one another are important, and that we should get these things settled. If we don't have a system to be able to get them settled, get these offenses settled, then we're going to crumble as a nation. And if we don't have a nation of our own, then the only thing that we can do, or the only thing that we can look forward to, is to be under another nation. You know what I mean? Is to be food for another nation. All right. Lock you. Lock you. Let me get Slocky, let me get John chapter 13, verse 34. 34. Or is there something, if there's something in 33, you can read it. And we're gonna get in a second like why it's so important, because again, this seems like something that's real easy to do. Like your brother, you see that homeless person on the side of the road, it's real easy. Like if you ask any brother or sister on the side, we could go out these doors right now and ask the first brother we see, the first sister we see, and be like, hey, if you saw your cousin or your brother, or just some random homeless person on the street, and they said that, oh, I'm hungry, I just need a burger for the night, they 9 times out of 10 gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna get him a burger. I'm gonna make sure I take care of him. It's easy to say brotherhood. It's easy to say that, oh, I'll take care of my brother. And if I saw my brother in distress, or if I saw my sister in distress, I would take care of him. You know what I mean? But those things in reality we'll find is real difficult to do. Unless you understand this Bible, unless you understand these scriptures and this culture that's in these scriptures. It's like, you go ahead and read that.
This is the book of John, chapter 13, and verse 34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another, as I have loved you, that ye also love one another.
See, this is Christ. Now this is Christ giving a new commandment. Now, this sound familiar. This should sound familiar, right? We just read this in Leviticus, the 19th chapter. That you should love your brother, that you should rebuke your brother if he's done you wrong or if he's doing wrong. You know what I mean? You shouldn't bear no grudge against the children of thy people, but love your neighbor, love your brother. Who is your neighbor? Which is another misconception in the Bible, where you read the word neighbor, especially in the New Testament, you think that just mean whoever lives next to you, which 9 times out of 10, it's either an oppressor or you want it to be an oppressor, because we trying to move out the hood. We think that success is to be living amongst our oppressor. So we think that, we trying to get in these gated communities, and we trying to move up out the hood. And we think that that's the good life right there. So either when neighbor comes to mind to a Christian, or, when neighbor comes to mind to us as a people, we think that it's our oppressor. We want it to be our oppressor. But your neighbor is, like it said in Leviticus 19 and verse 18, your neighbor is the children of your people. And those are the people that you should love. Those are the people that you shouldn't bear any grudge with. We real quick to bear grudge with one another. If that brother, all that brother got to do is look at you funny. All that brother got to do is, step on, walk a little too close to you, step on your shoe, or, you name it. And we bearing a grudge. We can't never let that go. But I'll even take it a step further. If that brother, if your brother's son take the life of one of yours, somebody close to you, we can't never let that go. Now we out for blood. But our oppressor has taken the lives of millions. I believe it's 170 something, or I think it's over 200 million Native Americans, 99 million African Americans, and can't remember the last one for the Hispanics. I think it's like 99. I think it's 77 million Hispanics. But they've taken millions of Black, Hispanic, and Native American lives. And what do? You know what I mean? We just got done celebrating Thanksgiving. We just got done. I mean, we go like we do every year. You know what I mean? We just got done celebrating Thanksgiving, and then we're gonna do New Year's, and then we're gonna go into Black History Month, and it's gonna be all blackety black. And then Juneteenth, it's gonna be more blackety black, where it's like we're gonna be remembering black folks. And then right after that, we're gonna be celebrating the 4th of July and doing everything that our oppressor teaches us to do. You know what I mean? Celebrating their holidays, celebrating their freedom and their independence. You know what I mean? Celebrating them. You know what I mean? We don't hold no grudge to the people that's taken the lives of millions of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But all a brother got to do is just, you know what I mean, bump you a little bit or you step on your shoe, and we holding that grudge forever. We can't mess with him, you know what I mean, for the rest of our lives. You know what I mean? That we got it backwards. Well, that's why Christ had to give us this new commandment, because it's not a new commandment. The only reason why it's new is because we've never applied it. You know what I mean? Which is no wonder why we've been in captivity, been through you know what I mean, been through, you know what I mean, we've been through captivity and captivity. We've been, you know what I mean, we constantly destroyed. As a matter of fact, did you already finish that? Looks like you go ahead and finish that.
Oh, go to verse 35. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if you have love one to another.
Yeah, this is how we will know, like the Christian church. And before I lose it, we get Matthew chapter 22 real quick in verse 36. But this is how you know the Christian pastor, your Christian churches, and all these other religions. You can name any religion that you want to go into. This is how you know that that's not of the Lord, and that's not where Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans need to be, because they claim to, you know what I mean, they claim to love one another, they claim to love the Lord, and this, that, and the third, and you know what I mean, but we hate one another. You know what I mean? We destroy one another. Like, you know what I mean? You see all sorts of diabolical things going on in those Christian churches. They claim to love the Lord, but then they'll go and intentionally separate your marriage. Where if y'all having a problem, if you having a problem with your marriage, instead of telling you to, you know what I mean, helping y'all work it out with your wife or with your husband, they'll tell you, oh, you know what I mean, y'all not equally yoked, y'all should separate. You know what I mean? Or, you know what I mean, they'll tell you that they love the Lord, but they in there assaulting your child, or you know what I mean, doing all sorts of. They tell you that they love the Lord, but they, instead of telling that brother who's in the LGBTQ community, you know what I mean, trying to get that brother some help, get that brother some counsel, and you know what I mean, get that brother some justice for the wrong things that's happened to him that got him in this lifestyle in the first place. They feed that demon, where they give him a chief seat in that Christian church. You know what I mean, you damn near, I don't know, if I ain't never seen a Christian church resume, but I think it's damn near a requirement. You gotta be in the LGBTQ community to be in that Christian church, to be a what's it called, the choir director or the deacon, or you know what I mean. But that's how you know that these Christian pastors are liars, because they say that they love God, you know what I mean, but they don't love one another. You know what I mean, you could tell within you know what I mean, within the Christian community in general, where there's so many denominations. There's so many denominations of Christianity. And if you don't like this Christian church, you can just go over to this Christian church, and so on and so forth. As soon as this Christian church, what they say in the Christian, they say this ain't serving my spirit. It's been a long time since I've been a Christian. But you know what I mean? They say, oh, this ain't serving my spirit. This ain't, you know what I mean? So you could just go from Christian church to Christian church until you get exactly what you want. You know what I mean? That's how you know that that's not, you know, that's not of the Lord. Because they don't love one another, and they don't teach you to love one another. You know what I mean? They teach you to love one thing, and that's your oppressor. They teach you to love your oppressor in his ways and your lust. You know what I mean? And to keep us destroyed, which is, again, to bring it back full circle, the whole point of the Christian church in the first place. Your Christian church was set up in your captivity to where your oppressor appointed somebody that looked like you, somebody from your nation, to be the pastor of the Christian church, and they would sit in that Christian church and make sure you was teaching them lies. To make sure you was a good slave. And fast forward now to the modern day Christian church, they got them same ideals. If we say Christ is a black man, they gonna fight us tooth and nail to say that, oh, that don't matter. We could pull the scriptures and all of that, and they'll fight you tooth and nail to say that don't matter, because they got a job to do. They don't give a damn about the truth. They got a job to do. You know what I mean? So that's how you know that that's not of the Lord. That's how you know that that's not of the Christian church. You know what I mean? And that's how you know whether you're in a Christian church or not. And that's a good way to check yourself as well. Like, if you're dealing with your brother and you find yourself, you find yourself angry with your brother, you find yourself you always butting heads with this brother or this sister, and instead of going to this brother or sister alone, you start a clique and you start talking to, you start gossiping about your brother or sister, or you, and just to make it clear, I know gossip, I know ain't no gossipers up in here. I know there ain't no gossipers in here, but just to make it clear, gossip is anytime you have an issue with a brother or a sister and you don't go to that brother. If you have an issue with a brother or sister, and instead of going to that brother, you go to another sister and be like, oh, this brother that did this, and he always doing this, and he always doing that, and she always doing this, and she always talking like this, and why she don't never come to no feast days, and why she don't never this, that, and the third. That's gossip. You know what I mean? I know gossip. I know when we think of gossip, we just, well, I don't know what we think of when we think of gossip. But I know one thing: when we think of gossip, we think it's not us, but it could very well be you. You know what I mean? And that's how you know the difference. If you have an issue with a brother or sister and you haven't gone to that brother or sister and dealt with it, but you go into another brother or sister and trying to convince, you trying to, you talking to another brother or sister about an offense that you got with a whole different sister, and it's not in counsel, that's gossip. Because what you're doing, even though I know, again, there's no gossipers in here. We one West till you bury me and all of that. But when you do those things, when you go to that brother, or when you go to another sister or brother about an offense that you got with another sister or brother, you're trying to convince that sister or that brother that's not involved with your issue. You're trying to convince them to hate that brother or sister that you got to out with. That's what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? So I just want brothers and sisters to know the difference, or know what gossip is, because slacking. I'm sure we understand, right? What was that? Matthew 22.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 22 and verse 36. Master, which is the great commandment in the law?
And this is the important part, because you can, as a matter of fact, we about to get into it, but a lot of times, like when we come to truth, or especially in the Christian church, let's take it off the truth. You look at the Christian church, and all they want to do is they want to exalt themselves to be, they want to put themselves on a level, right? They want to be looked at as, especially, let's take it off the Christian church. Let's take it to somewhere, because I know nowadays brothers and sisters are trying to leave that Christian church, but what you don't realize is that you taking that Christian mentality with you. Right, so you take it, take it to the world. All we trying to do is, in the world, all we trying to do is trying to exalt ourselves. We trying to get ourselves to a level where we looked at like, this prestigious, or this, you name it. We trying to make ourselves look more prestigious and look more, we trying to make ourselves look great. So that's why we envy these celebrities. We envy these movie stars. We envy these entrepreneurs and these podcasters and these influencers. But and that's really what you seeing right here. What is this brother? He didn't came up to Christ and he was like, master. He like, master. He appears real humble. He's like, master, which is the great commandment in the law. Because he just we are He wanted to know what the great commandment was. You know what I mean? Let's leave it. I'm gonna leave it right there. It's like, go ahead.
Come, verse 37. Yahushua said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind.
See, this is what we don't, you know what I mean? This is what we don't understand about you know what I mean, the Bible. And this is gonna be, if you can understand this about the Bible, if you can understand this, if you can understand if you can understand this, then you can at least build a strong foundation on what it means to be in the truth, what it really means to be one West. Right. So it said, what's the great commandment in the law? He said, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. Go ahead, read on.
Come, verse 40. It's like verse 38. This is the first and great commandment.
This is the first and great commandment, to love the Lord. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Remember, your neighbor is your brother. Somebody, like we just read in Leviticus, the 19th chapter, your brother or your neighbor is someone of the children of your people. I mean, that's what your Christian pastor will go right to this scripture and be like, oh, the great commandment is to love the Lord with all thy heart and all thy soul, with all thy mind. You know what I mean? You read that and you think that, oh, I got to roll around on the floor and cry and dance and sing and put my hands up and hashkala baba laba and all of that, and getting the choir, and you know what I mean, be the choir director and be the deacon and the usher. You know what I mean? All of that. That's what we think loving the Lord with all our heart and all our strength and all our mind is. Our tears. We think our tears is the same tears that you use to deceive, you know what I mean, your baby's father into raising a child that's not his. You know what I mean? You think that them the same tears that's going to deceive the Lord. You know what I mean? Them same tears that you deceived the judge with when you took that brother's life, you think that them the same tears that's going to deceive the Lord. That's not the love of the Lord. That's just emotion. You know what I mean? And that's thanks to your Christian pastors. I mean, they didn't taught you that loving the Lord is emotion. That's why our marriages don't last, because we think love is an emotion. We think love is just, oh, I got these butterflies, and you know what I mean, we going to Dubai and we going to you know what I mean, we you know what I mean, it's everything is peachy keen all the time. So as soon as that emotion fades away, because emotions are temporary, as soon as that emotion goes away, we think that, oh, I don't love this person no more. So now every person that you grew up with never had a father, because they all had that same idea of love. No, that's not what love is. And we gonna get to it. Christ gonna break it down right here. Us like you good.
John verse 40. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
These two commandments is where all the law hang, and the prophets who taught the law and warned the people that if they didn't keep this law, that they will be destroyed by the Most High God. Thus saith the Lord. But these two commandments, loving the Lord with all thy heart, mind, strength, and loving your brother, is where what the law hangs on. You know what I mean? Now, you go to your Christian pastors and you ask them about the law, what they gonna tell you? Oh, the law is done away with. We ain't got to keep the law. You know what I mean? Christ died, he nailed the law to the cross. You know what I mean? So if the Christ nailed the law to the cross, he nailed brotherhood to the cross. He nailed you know what I mean? He nailed loving the Most High to the cross. So now you ain't got to do none of those things. You ain't got to love your brother, and you ain't got to love the Lord. All you got to do is just cry. All you got to do is just be real emotional. You know what I mean? That's the logic behind it. You know what I mean? Your Christian pastor is not going to tell you that, but that's the thinking behind it, where you think that Christ died to get rid of the law. Well, if he died to get rid of the law, he meant he died so that, you know what I mean, we could continue to, you know what I mean, sell drugs to one another. He died so you can continue to have your children and leave them. I know our sisters, y'all hate them them deadbeat baby daddies. I know if I you know what I mean, I can't hear enough of that. Or you know what I mean, every sister got a deadbeat baby daddy. You know what I mean? If you love the Lord with all, you know what I mean, if Christ nailed it all to the cross, then he nailed your deadbeat baby daddy to the cross. So, you know what I mean, the fact that he's not trying to be in your child's life, you know what I mean, he nailed that to the cross too. So cut him some slack, give him a break, take him off child support. You know what I mean? Since Jesus your husband, right? You know what I mean? But what you'll find is most sisters would disagree with that, and most sisters will not forgive their baby father. You know what I mean? For you know what I mean, won't cut him no slack because they don't believe that they really don't believe that. They don't believe that it was nailed to the cross. They don't believe that the only thing that Christians really believe is nailed to the cross is, you know what I mean, the sin that they want to do. So if they want to eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, they want to be a whore or a whoremonger. They want to pop it in the club, or they want to, you know what I mean, have they want to knock down these sisters and never talk to them again. You know what I mean, that's what Christ nailed to the cross. But what about that brother that offended you? Oh, Christ ain't nailed that to the cross. You know what I mean, you got to get yours. And that's how skewed the Christian church is. You know what I mean, and that's the selfishness of the Christian church. Where they'll teach you that, you know what I mean, the law is done away with, but you know what I mean, you can always pick and choose what law is done away with. What Christ is saying right here is he said that these two commandments, you know what I mean, you loving your brother, the entire law hangs on you loving your brother and you loving the Most High. You know what I mean, you loving the Most High is keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments. But that's really what we need to understand. And that's, if we can understand that, then we could really build a strong foundation in our own communities. Because if you thought no matter what, I don't care what's going on, I'm not gonna betray my brother, and I'm not going to just I'm not gonna let an offense or anything get between, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna let anything get between me and my brother. I'm not gonna let any gossip get between me and my brother, or any offense get between me and my brother or my sister. You know what I mean? And when you see these things, then you know how to you'll go and take care of it. Salaki, let me get Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26. But if we understood what this really meant, you know what I mean? We understood that the law hung on how you loved your brother, that you don't suffer sin upon him, that you know what I mean, that you rebuke your brother, that you don't bear a grudge with your brother. If you understood that that the condition of your nation hung on those things, you loving your brother and keeping these laws, because if you love your brother, you're not going to sleep with his woman. Guess what? Guess what that's at? That's in the law. I mean, if you love your brother, you're not going to steal from that brother. Guess what that's at? That's in the law. You know what I mean? And guess what else is in the law? Not eating that small sin that you think is, you know what I mean? That sin that you think is small. Eating that pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, celebrating that Christmas, celebrating that Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Those things are in the law as well. And the Most High told us not to do those things. He said that he hates your feast days. He hates the thing that you think is important. He hates your Christmas. He didn't give you Christmas. You gave you Christmas. You know what I mean? Your oppressor gave you Saturnalia. Your oppressor gave you their Christmas, and then instead of getting rid of that Christmas altogether, you was like, oh, I know what they think Christmas is about, but this is what it means to me. I mean, that's your Christmas now. Same with Thanksgiving, where Thanksgiving, like the brother elaborated on last week, you know what I mean? Your Thanksgiving is about the mass genocide of Native Americans over a very long period of time, where they genocided you and then had a feast, and then genocided you and had a feast, and then genocided you and then lied to you and then had a feast about it, how they could steal from you. You know what I mean? And they plotted on this in Europe, where they was like, they came over here looking for us. You know what I mean? Christopher Columbus came over here with a Hebrew scholar named Louis de Terre. You know what I mean? If he didn't think that if he thought that there would be nobody over here, why would he come over here with a Hebrew scholar? You know what I mean? They came over here and plotted. And furthermore, he was told that whatever land that he found, he would have full jurisdiction over. I mean, whatever he discovered, which, you know what I mean, no wonder they came over and said that they discovered America. I mean, but they plotted that back in Europe and came over here and then did all those diabolical things. You know what I mean? And now we just got done demolishing that turkey and all that ham and the ham hot, the greens and the candy yam and all of that. We probably got you know what I mean, a lot of our brothers and sisters, still got all that food in their refrigerator, still trying to make it stretch, because after Thanksgiving, after the nostalgia and the, you know what I mean, all of that goes away, the emotion goes away from Thanksgiving, you realize and you remember that you're poor. You know what I mean? You might have forgotten why. You know what I mean? Because your oppressor put you in this condition. And it was Thanksgiving that put you in this position. But because we're poor, we go to them Thanksgivings and we go up in there. We got you will sit next to your childhood, what's the word? The sexual deviant that made you the deviant that you are today. You know what I mean? You will sit right next to him and pass him the candy yams just so you can take home all those plates for all those children that you got to feed. You know what I mean? But that's what we got to understand, man. The Most High said that He hated those things. You know what I mean? Those holidays, that Thanksgiving, that belong. We've made it our own. I mean, we've taken something that was diabolical and made it our own. That's the thing that the Most High hates. It doesn't say Thanksgiving explicitly in the Bible. It doesn't say Christmas explicitly in the Bible. It does describe those things though, and those things that we made our own, that we've made a black thing when they at first was an oppressor's thing. We made them a black thing. Those are the things that the Most High hates. So if you love your brother, just like you wouldn't steal from him, just like you wouldn't take his life, or you know what I mean, sleep with his wife, or whatever, you know what I mean, you name it, you wouldn't celebrate those holidays either. Because all of those things are in the law. And all of those things, all of those laws, statutes, and commandments that we've forgotten, that have been beaten out of us, all of those things revolve around brotherhood. You know what I mean? So like you got that
This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 26. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Verse 20.
So like it. Look, this is a very important thing for us to understand as well. Be ye angry and sin not. You know what I mean? It's not a sin to be angry. It's nothing, you know what I mean? It's nothing wrong with being angry. But it's what you do with that anger. You know what I mean? You angry with your brother, and but if you, instead of going to that brother, you know what I mean, you go to another brother and gossip about that brother, or if you angry with a sister, instead of going to that sister, you go to another sister and gossip about that sister. You know what I mean? You just sin.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna show you that that's a sin in here in a second. But if you do anything with that anger other than go to that brother and express your offense to that brother and give that brother an opportunity to make it right with you, and also if that brother might feel like he's well within his rights to do whatever he did. You know what I mean? You might be offended, but he might feel like he's done nothing wrong. You know what I mean? If you take that opportunity, if that brother hasn't heard you and you take that opportunity to hate that brother, like, oh yeah, I knew he was gonna do this. He always doing this, that, and the third. She always doing this. She'll never listen. She did that and the third. If you take that opportunity to go to that brother or that sister, and if he don't hear you or she don't hear you, and you go right back to gossip, or you just decide that you're gonna hate that brother, you know what I mean? You just sin. Let me get Matthew chapter 5 real quick. And the next part of that scripture in Ephesians say, "Let not the sun go down upon your wrath." You know what I mean? If you angry with your brother, you know what I mean? If you got a offense with your brother or your sister, you know what I mean? Let not the sun go down on that, man. That now we not, you know what I mean? We not like your oppressor where everything is absolutely literal. You know what I mean, when you read this Bible and you see things like that, when it says "Let not the sun go down upon your wrath," that means don't wait. That's all that means, man. Do it quickly. You know what I mean? If you're angry with your brother, if you're angry with your brother, you got an issue with your brother, you're angry with your sister, you're offended with your sister. You know what I mean? Hurry up and fix that, man. Don't wait. You know what I mean? And that's another thing that kind of jams that jams us up a lot, where we'll be offended, and instead of going to that brother or going to that sister, we'll just store it. we'll store it. And this is what happens. I've seen it so many times. You know what I mean, where a brother will have an offense, right? Brother will be offended. And instead of going to that brother that offended him, he'll just instead of going to that brother that offended you or that sister that offended you, you'll just be like, all right, whatever. It ain't no big deal. It ain't no big deal. We'll just brush it off. But then guess what happens? Because we're family and we gotta be close to one another. We gotta be around one another all the time. Guess what happens? Now you've offended that brother. So this brother that offended you, right? You didn't take it to him. Now you've offended that brother or that sister, and that sister loves you so much that he's gonna come to you and be like, "Hey, this offended me when you did this, that, and the third." And guess what's gonna happen? You're not gonna hear that brother or that sister because you're offended. So instead of, you know what I mean, instead of hearing that brother or, you know what I mean, being able to focus on that issue and being able to solve it, now you like, oh well, this back in January of 2019, you offended me here, and now you use that as an occasion to you know what I mean, bring up when you was offended with that brother. When back when it happened, you wasn't offended. You let it, you know what I mean, you brushed it off. You decided to forget about it. You know what I mean? That's why it's important for us to not let the sun go down on your wrath. You know what I mean? You offended, go to that brother, go to that sister whether it's big or small, whether you feel like it's just, you know what I mean, water off a duck's back, it's not a big deal. Go to that brother anyway. Go to that sister anyway. Just let them know, like, hey, Salaki, you know what I mean? This happened and this is how I felt about it. Whatever the case is, and squash it. Because when it's time for you to, or when it's time for you to offend a brother, then it's not gonna be so small then it's gonna be like, oh well, when you did this, you just did the same thing. You know what I mean? And just so we can avoid all of that, just go to that brother and don't wait on it. You know what I mean? Don't let the sun go down on it, please.
No, so like if I could, now what you saying is so heavy. You know what I'm saying? Also, I done seen it too, like, you know, with brothers and sisters, man. Somebody be offended a brother or sister, and they don't say nothing, and then they let all these small offenses just stack up, and then the brother mess around and your brother or sister mess around and do something like, you know, don't salute them or don't speak to them, and now brother done spazzed out on somebody. You're like, damn, where this come from? It's because you didn't go to that brother all those other times and you done exploded on him because you kept it in. You know what I'm saying? And if I could, on the other part too, like if a brother telling you Salakia, you should. It's not your job to determine how big or small the offense is. You know what I'm saying? Because I done seen the two of brothers like, hey, you tripping about that? I won't be tripping about that, and you will cause a further offense by trying to justify how big or small that brother felt like what was offensive. Salakia.
No, that's absolutely heavy. That's absolutely important to the point. Like all of those things that brother just mentioned, all the things we've been talking about all night is what builds. That's what makes Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans look at one another like, oh, we can't be fixed. It's all these small things. I mean, when we didn't let these small fences stack up, and now you didn't. You know what I mean? Now instead of going to that brother, you got to go upside his head. You know what I mean? Or, you know what I mean, that brother come to you, and instead of going to that brother like a, you know what I mean, like a brother, and just acknowledging that he was offended by whatever the case is. You know what I mean? You like, oh, that's not a big deal. What you offended over that for? You know what I mean? We try to minimize one another's offenses. Well, you don't know what that brother done went through to where this tiny thing offends him. You know what I mean? That brother, well, I'm gonna leave it at that. But you don't know what that brother went through to where this tiny thing, or what you would think is tiny, you know what I mean, offends him so much. You know what I mean? You don't know what this brother is going through. You know what I mean? Or you don't know what kind of piece of garbage you are. You could be just an absolute piece of garbage, and now you like, oh, that was your woman. Oh, these hoes for everybody. They for everybody. What's wrong? I wouldn't be offended at that. Whole time, you know what I mean? That's his woman, and he take his woman real serious. And I know a lot of brothers don't really play about their woman. You know what I mean? The same way you would feel about that situation, the same way a brother could feel about something that's like real tiny, but you don't see it. That's why we should, you know what I mean? If a brother come to you, if he got the courage and if he got the brotherhood to come to you and say, I'm offended about this thing, you should at least hear it. You don't have to agree. And that's what did I already give you a scripture? Uh, Let me get Matthew 18:15 real quick. Then we're gonna come back to that. But that's you know what I mean, that's the point of, you know what I mean, this scripture here, where you might not agree with why a brother offended, but that's like the brother just said. It's not for you to decide or determine whether this brother should be offended or not. And that's not to say that you should agree either. Like you could absolutely not understand why a brother is offended. But that don't mean you should belittle that brother. Be like, are you offended off of that? You know what I mean? You can just that's where y'all talk about it. Like, oh, that offended you? Well, I didn't, you know what I mean? Of course I didn't mean to offend you, but I can't think of any other way I should have handled it. Or what else I should have said or what else I should have did because this, that, and the third. Y'all talk about it. And then if it's at a point where y'all not hearing each other, then we have a process, which is crazy because your Christian pastor loves the New Testament. They love the book of Matthew. I mean, the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I mean, you could not spend a day in the Christian church, but you know all about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But I've never heard this scripture come out. But this is the foundation of how we gonna fix issues amongst one another. It's like you go and read that when you got it.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 15. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone.
See, this is a if Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans understood this right here, then we can avoid things getting bigger. So if a brother bumped you in the club or he stepped on your shoe in the club, if we were in our culture and we understood this right here, then we could just go to that brother and be like, hey, brother, you stepped on my shoe or you bumped into me. You know what I mean? And that brother, if that same brother understood our culture, he'd be like, oh, my bad, brother, my fault. You know what I mean? Let me buy you a drink. Let me, you know what I mean? Let me make it right with you. Boom. Issue squash right there. Right. But, you know what I mean? That brother step on your shoe, bump you. You know what I mean? Now you got to be a tough guy and keep on walking. Like, you know what I mean? That ain't phase you. Whole time you linking up with your boys gossiping. Right. You like, stepped on my shoe, he done bumped into me. And that's gossip. That's gossip right there. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, like, we don't recognize it because we in hell, and that's how we was taught to solve problems in hell. But you know what I mean? You go to that, you instead of going to that brother and addressing it with that brother, you go to your boys and you like, oh, this, that, and the third, this nigga done bumped into me. That's gossip right there. You just gossip. You know what I mean? So now y'all gotta go, you know what I mean? Y'all mean mugging each other across the dance floor. I mean, it's y'all in there, y'all came in there to, you know what I mean, have a drink, you know what I mean, talk to some sisters, you know what I mean, or you know what I mean, mingle with your family and all of that. You came out for a whole different purpose. Now you spending your whole night, whole dance floor full of women, full of beautiful women, and you eyeing a man across the dance floor. That's crazy. You know what I mean, all because we don't know how to handle offenses. I mean, I know we think we experts in, you know what I mean, handling offenses, but it could easily, you know what I mean, that could easily not be true. That's why it's important to come back to these scriptures and revisit these things where we know Matthew 18:15 is a staple in the ISUPK. You know what I mean? But it's important to come back and revisit this as well so that you can make sure that you don't become just like that Christian eyeing another man across the dance floor, looking past all the beautiful women and all the curves, looking at the brother all night. And now that brother looking at you like, what the hell? He probably didn't even know he bumped you. It's packed. It's, you know what I mean? It's all it's already packed in the club. You know what I mean? You don't know who you bumping into, who you stepping on, and all of that, or what. You know what I mean? Brother probably had a couple drinks. He probably ain't even feel it. And now all he know is another man and his boys is staring at him across the room, past all the women. He like, what's wrong with this brother? You got
Now, if I could, that's heavy what you bringing out to that point. Brothers got to realize really how effeminate and how LGBTQ that is, because you going and you know brothers get fly to the club, go to the club. So you, in essence, you getting fly. You know what I'm saying? Putting on your chains and your grill and your best oil and cologne to go and gaze in another man's eyes. You know what I'm saying? Salakia.
That's heavy. That's heavy. Yeah, you should consider because you did a lot of prep work. You know what I mean? You smelling good, and you know what I mean. You put your best on. You know what I mean? You done polished up, but now here you are, eyes locked, the whole with a brother. You know what I mean? Looking past the woman just walk past the girly dreams that walk past. You know what I mean? Walk past you like me. I'm finna. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's crazy. You know what I mean? And if we could just consider how silly the things that we indulge in, if we could just consider how silly it is, then we can avoid a lot of lives being lost in Black, Hispanic, and Native American communities. I mean, when the thing that you should do if that brother offends you is go to their brother between he and thee alone. And this is why. Go ahead, Riddle.
Con, if he shall hear thee, thou hast gained a brother.
If he shall hear thee, you have gained your brother. See, the point of Matthew 18:15 is not to, you know what I mean, not to ablaze on your brother. You know what I mean? To try to a lot of times, you know what I mean, if a brother offends you, there's another thing we gotta be aware of as well. Like if a brother offend you, that's not your opportunity to just blaze on that brother. Whether he outrank you or you outrank that brother, or whether you out the same rank, or if that's a sister, or you know what I mean, if that's a you know what I mean, you might be a sister and you offended with a brother. That's not your opportunity to just cuss this brother out, or you know what I mean, talk crazy to him how you wouldn't normally talk to, you know what I mean, how you wouldn't normally talk to a brother, you know what I mean, an officer in the school. It's not your opportunity to get out of pocket because you offended. Offense is not your get out of jail free card for respect and order. You know what I mean? So uh if you offended with a brother, if you offended with a sister, go to that brother between he and thee alone. And if they've heard you, then you've gained your brother. The point is for you to gain your brother, to gain your sister. So even if a brother has offended you, right? You mad, you upset, right? Because you know what I mean, you could be offended by a whole gamut of things, right? If you offended with a brother or a sister, go to that brother as if you're trying to gain them. That's how you should handle your offenses. This brother didn't bump you, he didn't stepped on your shoe. You just got these J's and he didn't scuffed them to no return. You can't even buff them. You can't you know these J's ain't coming back because this Bigfoot brother that stepped on your shoe. Go to that brother as if you're trying to keep that brother forever. You know what I mean? Same with you sisters. You know what I mean? You dealing with another sister. Go to that sister as if you trying to keep that sister, as if that sister is valuable. As if you know that you know that you would die for this sister, and if necessary, this sister would die for you. If you needed anything, you know that this sister is gonna be the one that's gonna be watching your kids if anything happened to you, and vice versa. Go to that brother and go to that sister just like that. You know what I mean? Don't go in there all swole up in the chest and you know what I mean, trying to show how strong of a man you is, or how I don't what sisters are. I don't take nothing off nobody. I don't take no garbage off nobody. You know what I mean? Don't go in there and try to show how you don't play that, you don't play about this, that. Don't go in there with that type of energy, man, because the scripture just said if your brother has heard you, if your sister has heard you, then you have gained your brother. That's the whole point. It's like you go every day.
John, verse 16. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of two or three witnesses every word may be established.
See, now this is the part. What we usually do is if that brother, we go to that brother, we go to that sister, and we tell them our offense, right? And I've seen this a lot too. I've seen this so many times. This is how I know, right? This is how I know that we gotta, especially in here, you know what I mean? In the ISUPK, we have to make sure we got this on lock. You know what I mean? We got to make sure we keep this place clean. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean, what our brothers and sisters tend to do, you know what I mean, is we'll go take our art between he and thee alone. And if that brother don't hear you, now you gotta cuss him out. We just stop it right there. If he hear you, you've gained your brother. Like, all right, so if I go to this brother, he should hear me. No, it's not gonna always happen like that. He might disagree with you. You know what I mean? He love you still, but you know what I mean, he might disagree with you. You might not understand. You know what I mean? That's absolutely possible. You might not understand where you're coming from. You know what I mean? That's not for you to be like, oh, this brother ain't nothing. He a piece of garbage. And this is why, you know what I mean? That's how before you know it, you purple head to toe. I mean, that's how you end up purple. That's how you ask any fake Israelite, you ask any Israelite group outside of the ISUPK, you ask them, well, how did you know what I mean? Like that brother interview Nasty Nate. He was like, well, you know what I mean? They the foundation. They the home of the truth. They was the first ones, right? Why not just stay with them? And if you ask anybody that's outside of the ISUPK, they're gonna be like, they're gonna say something like it's gonna 9 times out of 10 it's gonna lead back to an offense. It's gonna lead back to something that they didn't understand. Just like Nasty Nate. He was like, oh, there was much polygamy, which is crazy. That's crazy. But I mean, that aside, you know what I mean? 9 times out of 10, if any brother or if there's any brother that started their own Israelite group, they didn't break off from a break off and they refused to come back to Commanding General Yohana, you know what I mean, and talk to him. You know what I mean? If you gotta, because he been extended the invitation, you know what I mean? He said, look, all brother, you know what I mean, all Israelite groups, he been gave the order for all Israelite groups to come back. You know what I mean? He's easy to talk to, you know what I mean? But you ask them, it's gonna lead to an offense. Like, oh, they just too. It's gonna be something about, oh, they just too militant, and why they gotta do this, that, and third, or this. Like, it's always gonna be an offense. You know what I mean? But that's the point of Matthew 18:15. If you offended, you go to that brother between he and thee alone, and then you've gained your brother. But then the second part is, if they don't hear you, then take two or three witnesses. Now, this ain't saying go to you know what I mean, Becky from around the way and Susie from your job. You know what I mean? That's not what that's talking about. That's not your 2 or 3 witnesses. Because guess what? The 2 or 3 witnesses, you know what I mean, that you gonna pick, or the demon that's on you is gonna pick that you're gonna agree with, is gonna be ones that agree with you. Y'all all gonna agree. You know what I mean? If you pick your own witnesses, like these girls, you know, I went to my man and this, that, and the third. You go to your single friends about a issue between you and your man. You know what I mean? All them demons, you know what I mean, but that y'all all share, they all gonna agree, and they all gonna agree with you, and they gonna say that you should hit him upside the head with you know what I mean, a Douce bottle, and go through his phone and burn his house down, all of whatever you want to do. They gonna all agree on you destroying the relationship between you and your brother, you and your sister, you know what I mean, in your nation. All right. That's not what that's talking about. 2 or 3 witnesses that's going to counsel. So if you in here, you know what I mean, you got an issue with a brother or sister, you go, you know what I mean, you got an offense, that brother or sister that offended you, you talk to that brother, he don't hear you, and you know what I mean, y'all can't see eye to eye. It's no offense. It's no big deal. You know what I mean? It might be tough. You know what I mean? It might be tough because a lot of times you might go to a council, you might go to Matthew 18:15, a brother, and that brother you expect, like, okay, this is a small thing. He gonna obviously see that he was tripping. You know what I mean? And then you go to that brother, and then that brother don't see what the problem is. You know what I mean? Now things ain't going your way already. You know what I mean? You thought it was gonna get squashed right here. Matthew 18:15, he hear you, you gained your brother. But it might not always go that way. So if he don't hear you, you go to counsel. You go to men wiser than you. You go to men who's seen the thing that you dealing with right now, fresh. Like you only been in the truth a couple years. These brothers that you gonna go to counsel to and get counsel from, they've been in the truth for decades. You know what I mean? They've seen this type of offense. They've seen these type of things. You know what I mean? They've seen worse, and they still, you know what I mean, held on to this truth and stuck together. And despite, you know what I mean, they might have had an issue with a brother, but this brother still gonna, you know what I mean, gonna be able to. This brother still gonna have a place on my couch or have a bedroom with me if he in town. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean, when we down, we still gonna share Airbnb. You know what I mean? I might not, you know what I mean? I might have an art with this brother, or I might not necessarily, I might not be you know what I mean, happy with this brother at this moment. You know what I mean? But this brother's still welcome to whatever he need. You know what I mean? If he need me, he still got a place with me. These brothers have been through those things where they just slept on floors like sardines You know what I mean? Regardless of what they going through, man. So when you go to 2 or 3 witnesses, you know what I mean, that's who you should go through. General Mahyman, you know what I mean, the General Mayak, General Haas, you know what I mean. Them gonna be a witness. The captains who know you, who raised you, you know what I mean, who went, you know what I mean, who do drive city to city and drive hours to find you, to get you out of that hellhole, to get you that out of that off that stripper pole, or get you off of them streets. You know what I mean? That brother that raised you up out of that condition, that knows you. You know what I mean? You get counsel from them brothers, them gonna be your witnesses, and they gonna hear the matter, and you know what I mean, and they not involved in your situation. They not gonna be as emotional as you are right now because you're going through it. You know what I mean? So you feel it, so you emotional. So you got a personal, you everything that the offense is personal to you. You know what I mean? You got to go to people who's not involved in what you got going on so that they can make a judgment that's righteous and not personal. You know what I mean? But that's who those 2 or 3 witnesses are. That's like you go ahead, read on.
God, verse 17. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as an heathen man and a publican.
What we want to do is we want to just regard our brother and our sister as a heathen or a publican. They not part of this clique no more. I can't mess with this sister. I can't mess with this brother. You know what I mean? It's so easy to do that. It's easy because that's what that demon want. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's what your oppressor want. They want you to be in a position where you just destroy yourself. But what the Lord wants is for you to do the difficult thing and go to that brother and hash it all out and get it right. You know what I mean? That's what the Most High wants you to do. But it's so easy for us to, you know what I mean, go way left and, you know what I mean, hold these things on our chest and act like we're not bothered by something that's obviously bothering us, or we don't need to get counsel. We too big for counsel. We too strong for counsel. I'm not going to go to this brother and tell him my offense because that's some, you know what I mean, a lot of times, you know what I mean, the brother said earlier, which was heavy, you know what I mean, we might go to a brother and he might think that what we coming to him with our offense, or our offense that we coming to him with, or that offense we coming to her with, you know what I mean, that brother or sister might be like, oh, that's the small thing, you know what I mean, I wouldn't be offended by that. What we also do is, you know what I mean, we'll be offended, but then we won't take it to our brother or our sister because we think it's small. You know what I mean? Of course, until later, you know what I mean, that same brother is offended by you and he has the courage to, or that she has the courage to Matthew 18:15 you. And now all of a sudden that thing that you said was small isn't so small no more. You know what I mean, it's important for us to really, you know what I mean, get these things in our spirit, man. Get this Matthew 18:15, get these brotherhood concepts in our spirit so that we can, you know what I mean, know how to keep our nation together, and then also be able to recognize that demon when we see it. Recognize that demon when it jumps on you. You know what I mean? When that spirit of, you know what I mean, when that spirit of no brotherhood comes up on you, and you feel like you can't talk to your brother, you don't want to deal with your brother. You know what I mean, you got to be able to acknowledge that. You got to be able to acknowledge that and understand that that's not what's in this culture. That's not what's in this Bible. That's not what the Most High said. That's not what the Most High taught you to do. You know what I mean? And that's how you be able to recognize demons and to be able to, you know what I mean, conquer your demons. You got to have something to measure your demons against. Where what your demon is saying is that this brother ain't no good, this sister ain't no good, and that you should stop dealing with them. But the way you conquer that demon is to be able to measure it against what the Most High said. You know what I mean? Let's get the book of Matthew. We're going to go back to that Matthew chapter 5 and verse 22. Let me get to it real quick. Matthew chapter 5. Start at Start at verse 21. Slacky. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, and verse 21. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill, and whoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. You know what I mean? So again, this goes right back to the point of when we Matthew 18:15 one another, or when we have offenses and we don't want to Matthew 18:15 one another, this goes right back to the same concept of, you know what I mean? We might have an offense, but we might look at it as if it's small. Like, oh, this ain't big enough. You know what I mean? This ain't that big to be able to go have to Matthew 18:15 his brother or have to take him to counsel. It's not a big deal. You know what I mean? This is the exact thing. Says, ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill, and whoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. See, just because you're not at the point where you're not so emotional to the point where you feel like you got to take the life of your brother or your sister, that don't make your offense small. You know what I mean? And like the brother said again earlier, you know what I mean? It's those small offenses that stack up to where, you know what I mean, now you feel like it's those small offenses that you feel like aren't important that stack up and make it to where now you feel like you got to take a brother or a sister's life. You know what I mean, that's where that comes from. So, you know what I mean? That's why Christ is saying it. You have heard that it's said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill, it's like it, whoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. See, that's the only thing that we look at as a real offense. Like if I feel like I'm about to really put my hands on somebody, I'm about to have to take somebody's life or do something crazy. Now that's something where I got to Matthew 50 somebody, and now that's something worthy of taking to counsel. You know what I mean? But it's those small things that make you feel that way. Verse 22.
Verse 22. But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of judgment.
If you angry with your brother without a cause, you should be in danger of the judgment. You know why? Because like the brother said before, those small things is what stack up. So you angry with your brother, and you know what being angry with your brother without a cause is? If you angry with your brother and you haven't gone through that entire process of Matthew 18:15, verse, I believe it stops at 18 or 19. If you haven't gone through that whole process, because again, Matthew 18:15, it's so much of a foundation it's so much of a bedrock scripture in the ISUPK. We just say, oh, I got a Matthew 18:15, bro. I got a Matthew 18:15. You know what I mean? But it don't stop at 15. If you know what I mean, sometimes they got to go past 15. Sometimes you got to go to verse 16. Sometimes you got to go to verse 17. Sometimes you got to go all the way. You know what I mean? To make sure we stay together. You know what I mean? And sometimes it could be tough. Sometimes it could be real uncomfortable, but you got to do it, man, because the condition of our people is so much. The condition of our people and us coming together and us being a nation again is so much more important than, you know what I mean, than these tiny offenses. You know what I mean? And the discomfort that it's gonna take for me to go to my brother and tell him you stepped on my shoe, I ain't like that, or you said this about me, I didn't like that. The discomfort of going to that brother is a very small thing compared to what would happen if I didn't patch up that relationship with that brother or that sister. And the nation is divided. And now our oppressor can infiltrate us and destroy us from within. You know what I mean? Well, if you angry with your brother without a cause, you in danger of the judgment. If you angry with your brother and you haven't gone to get that matter judged, you're angry with your brother without a cause. You know what I mean? If you haven't had the matter judged to say whether you right or you wrong, or whether this brother is right or wrong, or whatever the case is, but you're angry as if this brother is wrong, you're angry with this brother without a cause. It's like you go ahead, Rito.
God. It's like it. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. Whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire.
Now this is where you know what I mean, we hate one another, you know what I mean? We hate one another, we talk down on one another. Now you got a whole opinion about this brother, you're this sister. You got a whole you came up with the judgment. You know what I mean? A lot of times, you know what I mean, we don't go to one another and get these issues. We'll get these issues solved, but we'll come to a whole conclusion about the matter. Like, oh, this brother like this. Oh, this brother, You know what I mean? I can't do this with this. I can't deal with this brother. I can't deal with this sister. You know what I mean? I can't mess with this brother or this sister. You know what I mean? But we ain't had the whole matter judged. We done came to a whole conclusion though. You know what I mean? We in danger once if you do that, you know what I mean? If you do that, the Black, Hispanic, or Native American, you know what I mean? And you're in danger of whatever you feel like that brother deserved for offending you, whatever you feel like that brother or that sister deserve for offending you, you in danger of that. Like, go ahead.
Verse 23. Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath an ought against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar and go thy way first, and be reconciled to thy brother, and then come, Salakia, and then come and offer thy gift.
This another thing too. I mean, we familiar with Matthew 18:15, but what if you know a brother got an offense with you? I mean, a lot of times, especially in that Christian church, I mean, or you know, a sister offended with you, or a sister, you know what I mean, or a brother got a offense with you, and you know what I mean, we'll go and try to we'll go and our brothers and sisters, we'll try to magnify ourselves in that Christian church, and we'll try to, you know what I mean, we making well, you know what I mean, we trying to exalt ourselves in the Christian church, trying to, you know what I mean, doing the most to try to put ourselves in the on the front row, trying to be acknowledged. You know what I mean, as this righteous and this great and righteous person. You know what I mean? What you should do before you know what I mean, what you should do is go to that brother, you know what I mean, and remember your nation. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, gifts and all of that, you know what I mean, tithes, of course, is a commandment. I mean, you should definitely get your tithes, but you know what I mean, them priest officer and all of that, that's not gonna fix your brotherhood. You know what I mean? Donating to the, you know, you know what I mean, donations is cool and all of that, you know what I mean? But your money is not gonna fix your relationship with your brother, your sister. And you know what I mean? You can have all the money in the world, but if we can't be together, we can't be in the same room with one another. We can't deal with one another. You know what I mean? That money can you might as well take that same money and burn it. You know what I mean? Because what good is your money if you know what I mean the brother that offended you or you offended, you know what I mean, end up taking your life? What good is your money? What good is your offerings if you know what I mean? Now you know what I mean. You making all these donations and offerings to the church, to the school or whatever, wherever you at, or you a Christian church or whatever, wherever you at. What good is your money? You taking all these offerings and then you got an offense with a brother and then you go take his life. You know what I mean? Now you done put a whole you done put a whole bunch of money into the church, but then now you got to pay. Somebody got to pay for a whole funeral. Somebody that lost their family, they loved one. You know what I mean? It's a please.
Now, if I could, now it's heavy what you're saying. I know a couple years ago it was kind of like prevalent, but they kind of died down now. But something called ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, where they was trying to fight to get reparations. You know what I'm saying? But like you said, priest, like, what good is that money if you ain't gonna do no but just rob and unalive the person next to you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like,
Right. 9 times out of 10, that money is coming from robbery or something that's, you know what I mean, less than honorable. I mean, a lot of that money be guilt money. You know what I mean, now you didn't offer and you see it in the same thing I'm talking about right now. I mean, that's you see it all in the scriptures. You know what I mean, well now you got a goat or a lamb ready for slaughter because you know that you either did something diabolical and disgusting or you about to do something diabolical and disgusting. Same thing with the Christian church. You know what I mean? All them tithes that's coming in that Christian church coming from a brother that then, you know what I mean, sold drugs to his own people or a sister that then sold her body on she all up in the strip club Saturday selling her body and then coming there with them same crumpled dollars that was in her behind in the crack of her behind. You know what I mean? She putting that same dollar in the collection plate, getting everybody pink eye. You know what I mean? You wonder why the Christian pastor come in next week with pink eye. Or you got the assistant pastor, you know what I mean, taking over. You know what I mean? But That's where that's where it's coming from. Yeah, so it was more than that or live. Let me get First Corinthians 13 real quick, and verse 4.
This is the book of First Corinthians, chapter 13, and verse 4. Charity suffereth long and is kind.
See, charity in the scriptures is brother. I can get that. Charity in the scriptures is brotherhood. You know what I mean? And this is what it takes to be a brother. Everything that we just described, you know what I mean, especially in Matthew 18:15, going through that whole process, that takes brotherhood. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, you know what I mean, a lot of times that whole situation can go left where a brother is offended, or a brother, you might have offended a brother, or you might be offended by a brother, and you take it through the whole process, and you might take it all the way up to Commander General Yohana, to take it up to major council, where you in front of the school trying to state your, you know what I mean, state the cause, state your cause. And you might realize after all that you done, all the hell that you done, you know what I mean, all the live videos, all whatever, you know what I mean, all the hell that you done caused, all the regrettable decision that you might have made. You might leave the school, come back, you know what I mean, you might in retaliation because judgment ain't came fast enough. Now you might have, you know what I mean, went upside a brother head, or you might have said something that that was beyond Salakia. You know what I mean? You might have said something that was just beyond, or said or did something that's beyond an apology. Now you done made a mistake that you can't just go back on. You know what I mean? But it takes brotherhood to go through that whole process. Go through that whole process to go to that brother. Tell him your offense. He might not hear you. Like, okay, no sweat. No sweat. We'll just have to go to council. It's all good. You know what I mean? We'll just have to take it to council and get it squashed. And then still stand next to that brother and go to camp with that brother. And still defend that brother. Still trust him to give his life for you, and you give your life for him. You know what I mean? Still trust that brother. Still be able to call that brother and lean on him if you need him. You know what I mean? Still be a family. You know what I mean? If he needs you, be able to allow that brother to lean on you. It takes charity. It takes brotherhood. It takes for you to suffer long with that brother, and then you go to your counsel. You know what I mean? And then you know what I mean? You go to counsel. It might take a little bit of time. You know what I mean? You take a brother to counsel, and then it don't happen as quickly as you want it to happen. You know what I mean? And then you finally go to council, and then you don't get the result that you wanted, and you might have to take it up. You know what I mean? That's gonna take some more time, but you still gotta stand next to this brother and be a brother. You know what I mean? Allow this brother to be a brother to you. I mean, that takes brotherhood. It's like, you read that again, Baba Kasha?
Verse 4. Charity suffereth long and is kind.
Charity suffers long. You know what I mean? For us to be a family, we gotta suffer long with one another. You know what I mean? That ain't saying let nobody, you know what I mean, do you wrong. It ain't saying to let nobody rob you, or to, you know what I mean, it ain't saying to put your family in danger. You know what I mean? Somebody to take your life, or somebody to, you know what I mean, uh it ain't saying to let nobody put your kids in danger. But you know what I mean, for you to if you love your brother, you know what I mean, and you want to go through the proper channels to get those offenses solved, like we just read a second ago, you might have to suffer a little bit longer. You know what I mean? You got to suffer long, man, and continue to be kind. It's like, go ahead, read on.
Kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself. It is not puffed up.
It's easy to vaunt yourself up. You know what I mean, when you going through a situation, or you feel like somebody that wronged you, and you either it might be taking a little bit of time to, you know what I mean, get what you get, to go through through the proper channels. right? It's easy to vaunt yourself up and puff yourself up and feel like, oh, you know what I mean? Because things ain't going your way or things ain't going speedy because we spoiled. You know what I mean? But scriptures say to suffer long with your brother. Envy not. Don't be puffed up and vaunt yourself up. Don't put yourself above, you know what I mean, your nation. You know what I mean? That's selfish. That's mad selfish. Whole time, you know what I mean? I know, you know what I mean? It could be, who am I to tell you what's small? You know what I mean? And who is another brother to tell me what's small if I'm offended? You know what I mean? Nobody can tell you what's a small offense and what's a large. Nobody can tell you that. You know what I mean? Or tell you what's worth going to counsel, rather. Nobody can tell you what's worth going to counsel and what's not worth going to counsel. So, you know what I mean? A brother might have, you know what I mean, stepped on your shoelace. That could be you know what I mean? That's nothing. It's not for me to tell you that that's a small offense or a big offense. But, you know what I mean? If that's the case, you know what I mean? You go to that brother, you go to that brother, you go to that sister, let them know what you let them know what your offense is and all of that. And get that squash. If they don't hear you, you know what I mean? That's not for you to be like, oh, this place ain't righteous, or these sisters, these brothers ain't righteous, and this, that, and the third, or they not about nothing. And that ain't for you to go ahead and just make yourself like, oh, I'm better. You better than, you know what I mean? You above everybody. You know what I mean? It's not for you to do that, man. It's like, go ahead, read on.
Verse 5. Doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil.
All of these things can come from, you know what I mean, a small offense, an offense that, you know what I mean, you or another brother might think is small. But any of these, the smallest offense, like we said before, you know what I mean, brothers, so many brothers have lost their lives from somebody stepping on a shoe. You know what I mean, so many brothers. I know, what was it? We just got done with Thanksgiving and Black Friday. You know what I mean? I know the death toll for Black Friday was outrageous. You know what I mean? Brother then lost their life over that, PlayStation, over that, you know what I mean? Over trying to get that PlayStation on sale, which is already overpriced, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, though. But, you know what I mean? All of that stuff be overpriced in the first place, but a brother or sister will go in there and knock a brother or sister over the head. You know what I mean? Y'all fighting for the same overpriced PlayStation and Xbox. You know what I mean? But you get on live, you know what I mean, and a brother or sister might say something to you over the microphone, or somebody might say something to you over the internet, you know what I mean, that you don't appreciate. You know what I mean? And just over the words that you say over the internet, or over the, you know what I mean, over these small things, brothers and sisters that lost their life. You know what I mean, brothers that lost their mothers and their fathers and their cousins and they sons and daughters and their brothers over these tiny things, man. I mean, because when we offended, we behave unseemly, and we don't care about how nobody else, the other angles, the other possibilities of whether we right or wrong or whatever the case is. You know what I mean? We just, you know what I mean? We just care about how we feel. We seeking our own. You know what I mean? And we, good night. It's you know what I mean? We easily provoked. It's not hard to ruin the Black, Hispanic, and Native American relationship. I mean, you could be, you know, what I mean, you could have a relationship of how many years, you could, whether it's 1 year or 21 years. You know what I mean, you could be friends with somebody a year or 21 years. You could, you know what I mean, it's not hard for us to ruin our relationship. It could just be the smallest thing. You know what I mean, either borrowed your pen in the third grade and never returned it, and now, you know what I mean, it, this nigga evil forever. Like it, go ahead, read on.
And verse 6. Rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth.
Rejoicing not in iniquity. A lot of times, we go to Matthew 18:15, a brother. We go to take a brother to counsel. We want to see that brother checked. We want to see him get blazed on, lose his rank, get kicked out the school. You know what I mean? But that's not what brotherhood is about. Again, the whole point of Matthew 18:15, the whole point of counsels is to gain your brother, not to see that brother get blazed on, not to see that brother get kicked out the school or get beat up or, you know what I mean, get arrested or whatever. You know what I mean? I know these angry baby mamas, you know what I mean, or you know what I mean, this brother that said he done checked you a little too loud or checked you a little too harsh or he done said something you didn't like, he done got another woman and he done spent a little bit too much time with her. Whatever the case is, now you wanna go upside his head with the Douce bottle. Now you wanna, you know what I mean? You wanna call the police and get him up out of there, get him locked up and all of that. You know what I mean? That you know what I mean? That's not what brotherhood is about. Where now you seeing you rejoicing and seeing a brother just be destroyed. You know what I mean? That's not what brotherhood is. That's not the whole point. But instead of rejoicing in iniquity, you know what I mean? Rejoicing and seeing a brother, you know what I mean, seeing something evil happen to a brother. You know what I mean, we should rejoice in the truth. You know what I mean, that's the point of because again, the point of Matthew 18:15 is to gain your brother. But you know what I mean, the point of Matthew 18:15 is to gain your brother. But if you rejoicing, if you're looking for the evil thing to happen to your brother, then the truth ain't, or you're not gonna be able to see the truth. The truth gonna go slacking. The truth gonna come out. But you know what I mean, you're not necessarily gonna be able to see it because you just looking for you think what you got going on, you think how you feel is the truth. You know what I mean? So when you think this brother need to lose his rank, he need to get kicked out of school, you need to see him get yelled at, cussed out, and this, that, and the third, and that don't happen. Now it's like, oh, well, there ain't no righteous judgment up in here. You know what I mean, but the truth, if you go into a Matthew 18:15 and you're seeking to gain your brother, you seeking to repair these relationships and try to move forward and remain a family, then the truth is, you know what I mean, you're gonna be able to rejoice in the truth. Even when you find out that you was wrong. I mean, you might go to a council, think that you was dead right. Just be 10 toes on your point, and then find out that you was dead wrong. You know what I mean? If you really love your brother, you're gonna be able to rejoice in the truth. Like at least we got to the bottom of it, and at least this problem isn't plaguing my family no more. Where this problem, I can sleep at night, and I don't have to have this tightness in my chest where I'm looking at my wife every day, and I just can't stand her. I'm looking at my, you know what I mean, our sisters looking at their husbands, and they just can't stand them. You know what I mean? You know, you could go to sleep. You can go to sleep without this tightness in your chest. And you could get you know what I mean? You can mend these relationships. That's what you should rejoice in. Rejoice in the truth. That's like you go every door.
John verse 8, verse 7. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things.
If we could just endure just a little bit longer, you know what I mean? If you offended with a brother, or if a brother offended you, you know what I mean? You go to that brother, and that brother don't hear you, bear it. That's how you able to stand next to that brother at camp. That brother offend you on Thursday, and you go to that brother humbly, you know what I mean? And that brother don't hear you, bear it. You know what I mean? Go through the proper channels, bear it. And then Friday during camp, you stand next to that brother. You know what I mean? You read for that brother. You know what I mean? Or if that brother reading for you, put your arm around that brother, man. You lean on that brother. You know what I mean? You depend on your brother. You know that this bro, even though y'all not seeing, y'all might not be able to see eye to eye on this topic or whatever this issue is. You know that if y'all when y'all go out to war, you know that this brother is out there to, you know what I mean. He gonna be able to defend the camp if necessary, and you as well. You know what I mean. Bear it. If you offended, bear it. You know what I mean. Until you get that counsel, until you could get through the proper channels and get that solved. Bear it and go to war. You know what I mean? This Saturday, do the same thing. Go to camp. Bear it again. You know what I mean? Until it's time for that to get solved, man. Otherwise, you know what I mean, we're never gonna be able to maintain relationships with one another. But go ahead. Are you about to say something? Okay, no, so I think that's it on that. Let's see, I think it was one more. Matter of fact, gonna close it right there. But you know what I mean. But to bring it full circle, you know what I mean, if we could just understand Matthew 8:15, you know what I mean, if we could just bury that in our spirit, then we can be a family again. Because again, that's the whole point. The whole point of these classes that we teach, the whole point of us going to camp, the whole point of us coming in here and shedding ourselves of the world, the whole point of us doing all of this is for us to be a family. You know what I mean? Because if we remain the same people that we was in the world, then we're going to continue to infect and destroy one another, just like we destroyed the people that we loved in the world. You know what I mean? If we don't shed ourselves of the world, then we're going to continue to damage one another. We're not going to be able to be a family. You know what I mean, like Christ said, the whole law hang on the love of your brother. That's what the whole law hang on. So we could master. You don't have to. You don't. If you don't understand the Bible, if you never read the Bible in your life, just think about your brother. Think about your brother, and the law is right there. You could have never seen the law. Could have never seen the law, statutes, and commandments. You could have never seen the Bible in your life. But if you think about, you know what I mean, not robbing your brother, how that would affect your brother if you took what was his. You know what I mean? If you thought about how it would be, if you know what I mean, how it would be for your brother if you were to, you know what I mean, take his life or take your own life, or to you know what I mean, be a drug addict, or to sell drugs, you know what I mean, or to be an alcoholic. If you were to think of how that would affect your brother, then we could be right in line with the law, man. That's a good first step. But that, like, yeah, I see a couple questions in the chat, but for time's sake, I'm gonna have to close it right here. Uh, I'm gonna definitely get to them either later in the week, or next week. I have to get to them. But with that, let's say I Majin, which means to stand. Give courtesy to brothers. Vidra Maga Shabbat, Majin, Barat. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shabbat, Yadi Batai, Sar, Brother Face Sisters, give courtesy salute to the sisters. Vidra Maga Shabbat, Majin, Barat. Yahweh Shamar Latham Bashim Yahweh Shah, Yadi Batai, blessings.